Callan Brooks stepped off the shuttle platform and into the crowded heart of Orcs' hub, one of the largest space stations in the Orion sector. The first thing he noticed was the noise, thousands of voices, hundreds of languages, and more humming machines than he could count. The second thing he noticed was the signs. Bright holograms flashed everywhere, advertising strange foods, alien hotels, and a long list of tourist services. Callan had traveled a long way to get here. He was an engineer from Earth, and this was his first time outside human-controlled space. He expected to feel excited, maybe even proud. Instead, he mostly felt broke. He checked the small balance on his digital wristband. 7 credits left. Barely enough for food. Definitely not enough for a hotel. Absolutely not enough for any emergency. He sighed and pushed through the crowd. He did not want to spend another night sleeping inside a cargo crate like he had done on the trip from Europa Station. But Vorex's hub was bigger, cleaner, and much more expensive. He needed help ship. Help. Then, he saw a glowing sign floating in the air. Cultural Liaison Program learned the station with a local guide. Prices starting at 2 credits. Callan stopped. 2 credits. That was unbelievably cheap. He looked below the sign and saw a small booth shaped like a silver cube. A bored insect-like alien sat behind a glass panel, clicking its mandibles in a slow rhythm. Callan approached the booth. Hi. Is it really 2 credits for a guide? The insect alien clicked twice, which the translation device on the counter turned into speech. Yes, lowest tier. Short session only. 1 night maximum? Basic guidance. No specialized skills provided. That's fine, Callan said quickly. I just need someone to help me figure out the station and maybe avoid getting lost. You will receive a Tier 3 liaison, the creature said. Please pay. Callan tapped his wristband against the payment panel. The screen flashed green, and the insect alien pressed a small button. A sliding door opened on the side of the booth. A young alien stepped out. She looked almost human at first glance. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft features, and long silver hair that glowed faintly like moonlight. But her skin had a gentle blue tint. Her eyes were wider and brighter than any human's. Her ears were long and pointed like delicate fins. She wore a simple dark uniform with a glowing badge. She smiled politely and bowed her head. Greetings. My name's Ryla. I will be your cultural liaison for tonight. Callan blinked. She looked too professional for a 2-credit service. I'm Callan. Ryla took a step closer and scanned him with a small handheld device. Human. Male. Early adulthood. Low stress level. Mild exhaustion. No dangerous items detected. Callan rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I could have just told you that. Ryla tilted her head. We must follow safety protocol. Please do not worry. I will guide you safely around the station. May I ask your purpose for visiting Vorex's hub? I'm here to try and find work, Callan said. Engineering jobs. I heard there are plenty. Ryla nodded. There are. But this station is very large and complex. It is easy for first-time visitors to get confused. You chose wisely to hire assistants. Callan wasn't sure if 2 credits counted as choosing wisely, but he didn't argue. Ryla walked ahead of him with smooth, almost silent steps. Please follow me, she said. I will show you the central market first. It is the most important area for newcomers. As they entered a wide circular hall, Callan felt overwhelmed again. Giant screens floated overhead, showing star maps, announcements, and advertisements. Vendors from dozens of species sold everything from glowing fruit to anti-gravity boots. Strange smells filled the air suite. Bitter, spicy, metallic. RHY, La moved confidently, pointing out important locations. That zone is the food sector. That tunnel leads to temporary lodging. That platform connects to long-distance shuttles. And that elevator goes to the employment offices. Ella nodded. Trying to follow everything she said? You seem to know a lot, said. I studied every map of this station when I joined the program, Ryla replied. I enjoy helping travelers. May I share something interesting? Sure. Most humans who arrive here become lost within 1 hour, but so far, you have not looked confused. That is impressive. Callan laughed weakly. Trust me, I'm confused. I'm just good at hiding it. Ryla's eyes widened in what seemed to be interest. Humans hide emotions easily. I have been told this many times. Not all of us, Callan said. Mostly just the tired ones. They explored for nearly an hour. Ryla explained how transport systems worked, how to avoid scams, and how to communicate with species that didn't rely on sound. She guided him through crowded streets, glowing corridors, and moving walkways. She even translated a conversation with a four-armed vendor who tried to sell him a suspicious-looking energy egg. Callan slowly relaxed. For the first time since arriving, he felt safe. Ryla finally stopped near a quiet observation deck. Through the giant windows, Callan saw thousands of tiny ships moving through the stars. We have completed the standard route, Ryla said gently. Our time is almost over. Before we end, you may ask 3 questions. It is included in the service? Only 3. Callan joked. Yes. Anything beyond that is an upgrade, she said seriously. Callan smiled. Okay. Question 1. Where can I sleep tonight without spending all my credits? Ryla pointed at a tall structure across the deck. That hostel offers low-cost rooms. Most are shared, but clean and safe. Good question 2. Where do I start looking for engineering jobs? Ryla tapped her badge, and a small map appeared. This region has mechanical workshops. This region has maintenance departments. And this building here hosts contractors. Great. And question 3? Callan thought for a moment. Can you give me one important tip? Something most newcomers don't know? Ryla looked around slowly. Her voice dropped, almost cautious. Yes, there is something. Callan leaned closer. What is it? Ryla stepped to the window and stared out as if trying to measure her words. Some areas of this station influence emotions. Callan frowned. Influence. Like what are fresheners? No, something more subtle. A low-frequency field. Most species do not notice it. They simply feel calmer or more agreeable in certain zones. That sounds creepy. It's meant to prevent conflict, Ryla said. But not everyone approves. And humans, especially, can be resistant to it. Callan blinked. Resistant? Why? Ryla turned back to him. Her expression was serious in a way he had not seen before. Human minds are unpredictable, more chaotic, less influenced by such fields. That's not exactly comforting, Callan said. Ryla nodded. But useful, especially here. Before Callan could ask more, her badge beeped softly. Our time has expired. This concludes your one-night basic service. Callan felt a small wave of disappointment. Ryla had been helpful, polite, and surprisingly interesting. He reached out his hand to thank her, but she didn't take it. Instead, she stared at him with an unreadable expression. What's wrong? He asked. Ryla took a slow breath. I have decided something. About what? You. She pointed at him gently. I will accompany you. Callan froze. What? No, the service is over. I know. I didn't pay for more time. You do not need to. Callan stepped back. Then what do you mean? Ryla clasped her hands together as if making an important announcement. I will stay with you, she said calmly. From now on, Callan stared at her, completely confused. Why? Ryla's silver eyes glowed faintly as if excited. Because humans are different. And you are especially interesting. And because I believe something unusual will happen on this station, something you will be part of. I cannot leave now. Callan shook his head. You can't just follow me forever. Ryla tilted her head. I can, and I will. But why me? I'm not special. That is what makes you interesting, she said softly. Callan's heart sank. He had come here to find work, not to adopt an alien shadow. What are you even talking about? Ryla stepped closer, lowering her voice. I believe this station is hiding something, and humans like you may be the key to uncovering it. I must stay near you. For research, for safety, for answers. Callan rubbed his forehead. This can't be happening. Ryla smiled, gently calm, polite, and absolutely certain. It is happening, and I am not leaving. And with that, Callan Brooks realized something terrifying. His 2-credit guide had just become a problem worth 1,000. Callan Brooks walked fast through the station hallway, hoping Ryla would take the hint and leave. She did not. She walked quietly behind him, her steps light and steady, her expression calm. If someone looked at them from a distance, they might think she was just doing her job as a guide. But Callan knew better. Her shift was over. Her payment was finished. Her badge had already switched to off-duty mode, yet there she was following him like it was the most natural thing in the world. Callan stopped suddenly. Ryla stopped too. Okay, he said, spinning around. You can't follow me anymore. Ryla blinked slowly. But I already said I am staying with you. That's the problem, Callan said. You're not supposed to. Don't you have rules? A boss? A place to be? Ryla raised her badge slightly. I have resigned, Callan almost choked. You what? I sent the notice 2 minutes ago, she said calmly. I no longer work for the Cultural Liaison Program. Callan rubbed both hands over his face. Why would you quit your job just to follow me? Ryla stepped closer and lowered her voice. I told you, something strange is happening on this station. I have studied emotional patterns for months. I noticed changes. I believe the source is not natural, Callan groaned. Right, the weird emotion field thing. You said it makes people calmer? Yes, Ryla said, but it also makes them easier to influence. That sounds bad, Callan admitted. But what does that have to do with me? Ryla stared at him with almost scientific intensity. You do not react to the field the way other species do. You resist it. That is very rare, Callan pointed at himself. I'm just a broke engineer who hasn't slept in a real bed for days, Ryla said. Your mind is tired and stressed, yet the field does not weaken you. This is ridiculous, Callan muttered. Look, I appreciate the help tonight, but you need to go home, or back to your program office, or wherever. I do not have a home here, Ryla, said matter-of-factly. I stayed in a shared staff pod, but I returned the key. Why? Because I am staying with you. Callan closed his eyes. This is a nightmare. But when he opened them, she was still there, calm, polite, patient, and apparently unimmovable. The program office gets angry the next morning. Callan and Ryla stood in front of the Cultural Liaison Program office. Callan insisted they go there first thing. He hoped someone would talk sense into her. The insect-like receptionist from yesterday clicked his mandibles rapidly when he saw them. You? Human. Your liaison reported resignation during active hours. What did you do? Callan threw his hands up. Nothing. I didn't tell her to quit. Ryla stepped forward. I resigned of my own decision. You are restricted from doing so without notice. The receptionist snapped through the translator. You must complete 30 cycles of service before resignation. Ryla bowed politely. I apologize, but I cannot continue. Callan leaned closer to the receptionist. Please, can you just take her back? I don't need a full-time guide. The insect alien clicked angrily. She cannot be re-registered without management review. This is your responsibility now. Callan's mouth dropped open. My responsibility? You hired her, the alien said. And she quit during your session. That ties her to your visitor file until the review is complete. Callan stared in horror. You mean she really will stay with me? Yes, the receptionist said coldly. Until we resolve this problem? Callan turned to Ryla. She gave him a polite smile. He almost fainted. A strange day begins. They left the office together. Callan walked with slumped shoulders, dragging his feet. Ryla walked beside him as if everything was perfectly normal. What now? Callan asked miserably. I suggest food, Ryla said. You have not eaten since yesterday. Callan checked his wristband. I only have 5 credits left. That is enough, Ryla said. I know a place. She led him to a small food stall run by a round, floating alien with large, friendly eyes. The creature sold Nutra-Cakes, cheap but nutritious. Callan bought 2. Ryla refused. 1. You're not eating? My species does not require regular meals, she said. Twice per cycle is enough. Callan nodded slowly. At least something was simple. They ate in silence for a bit. Then Callan finally asked the question that had been spinning in his head since last night. Ryla, what exactly do you think is going on with this station? Ryla folded her hands. I believe someone is controlling emotions in certain areas. I do not know who or why, but I know humans are almost immune. Okay? But why follow me? Why not report it to the station authorities? I did, Ryla said softly. They ignored me. That gave Callan pause. Why would they ignore something like that? For one of 2 reasons, Ryla said. Either they do not understand the danger, or they are part of it. A cold feeling crawled up Callan's spine. Something feels off phase. They walk through the commercial district. Callan began noticing something strange. People were behaving. Too peacefully. 2 vendors argued loudly. But both suddenly stopped mid-sentence, smiled calmly, and returned to their work like nothing happened. A group of children began fighting over a toy. But within seconds, they all grew quiet and walked away silently. A pair of guards scolded a drunk traveler, but instead of resisting, the traveler simply nodded with a relaxed smile and wandered off. Callan frowned. That's weird, as Ryla said. You are seeing the pattern. It wasn't normal. It wasn't natural. Something in the air felt like invisible fingers pushing emotions down softly, but firmly. Callan shook his head. Okay, yeah. Something's going on. Ryla looked relieved. I am glad you noticed, but why me? Callan muttered. Why am I part of this? Ryla placed a gentle hand on his arm, almost like a scientist touching an important specimen, because your mind cuts through the influence. You see clearly, while others do not. I have never met a human like you. Callan turned red. Stop making it sound special. I'm not special. Ryla gave a tiny shrug. Special or not, you are resistant. That is enough. Danger in the hallways, they walked toward the employment district. A tall alien wearing a dark coat stepped into their path. He had 4 eyes, long limbs, and skin that shimmered like polished metal. He stared at Ryla first, then at Callan. Human. Ah! The alien said in a cold voice. Please come with me. Callan stiffened. Why? You interfered with a liaison's professional schedule. There are consequences. Ryla stepped in front of Callan. He did nothing wrong. The alien gave her a cold smile. You resigned during service hours. That is also against regulations. Callan backed away. Look, I don't want trouble. You already have trouble, the alien said. He reached for Callan's wrist. Ryla moved faster than Callan thought possible. She grabbed the alien's arm and twisted it sharply. The metal-skinned alien stepped back, surprised. You will not touch him, Ryla said firmly. The alien narrowed his eyes. So you know what? Callan asked, but Ryla didn't answer. The alien hissed and slipped into the crowd. Disappearing as quickly as he had appeared, Callan stared at Ryla. What was that? A warning, Ryla said quietly. Someone does not want us looking deeper. Callan swallowed hard. I didn't sign up for this. No, Ryla agreed. But you are part of it now. Day ends. The mystery deepens by evening. Callan was mentally exhausted. He had learned nothing about jobs, spent most of his remaining credits, and nearly got grabbed by a mysterious stranger, and Ryla was still following him. They stood at the entrance of the cheap hostel. Callan finally spoke. Look, I can't afford the beds. I do not need a bed, Ryla said. I can rest standing. Callan blinked. Seriously? Yes, she said. My species is comfortable that way. Fine, Callan sighed. But tomorrow, we go back to the program office. They have to fix this. Ryla tilted her head. Tomorrow may be too late. The station is changing. The emotional patterns are growing stronger. Callan shivered. What does that mean? Ryla stared into the dim hallway of the hostel. It means someone is preparing for something big, and us. Callan whispered. We are already in the middle of it. Callan exhaled. He had come to Vorax's hub to find work and a better future. Instead, he had found an alien girl who refused to leave, and a mystery that seemed to grow darker every hour. Callan Brooks woke up with a stiff neck and a heavy head. The hostel bed was uncomfortable. The pillow was too thin. The humming of passing ships outside the window had kept him awake for half the night. But even worse than all of that was the fact that Ryla had stood beside his bed for most of the night. She wasn't staring at him, thankfully, but she was awake. She was calm and perfectly still, like some strange guardian statue. When Callan sat up, rubbing his sore eyes, Ryla's silver blue eyes opened immediately. "Good morning," she said softly. Callan almost fell out of bed. "Were you standing there the whole time?" "Yes," she replied. "I rested. It was efficient." "That didn't look like resting," Callan muttered. "It is normal for my species." Callan sighed. "Great, another thing I don't understand." He swung his legs off the bed. "Okay? Today we're going straight back to the liaison office. You're getting rehired, and this weird mess is ending." Ryla said nothing. That made Callan nervous. "What?" he asked. "There is a problem," Ryla said slowly. Callan sat up straighter. "What kind of problem?" Ryla walked to the small hostel window and pointed outside. "Look at the people." Callan joined her. Outside, the main hallway of the hostel district was filled with travelers, workers, and aliens from all kinds of species. At first, everything looked normal, but then Callan noticed something. Everyone was moving too calmly, too quietly, too peacefully, the same pattern from yesterday, except stronger. Two merchants bumped into each other and simply apologized with soft smiles. A child dropped her glowing toy, and instead of crying, she just stared at it and walked away. A group of workers looked tired but not frustrated, not angry, not even annoyed. It didn't look natural. Not at all. "It's worse than yesterday," Callan whispered. "Yes," Ryla said. "The field is expanding." Callan rubbed his temples. "Okay, what do we do?" "We investigate," Ryla said firmly. "We must find the source before it grows stronger." Callan blinked. "What happened to go back to the program office?" "They will not help us," Ryla said. "They ignored my previous reports. And the agent who confronted us yesterday proves they are being influenced or controlled." Callan frowned. "You think the station staff is part of it?" "Some of them," Ryla said. "Not all, but enough to block any real investigation." Callan breathed out slowly. "So you're telling me that, instead of fixing our problem, we're supposed to run around the station looking for—" "What? A giant mind control machine?" Ryla nodded. "Yes." Callan stared at her. "I hate this." Ryla's eyes softened slightly. "I know. But if we do nothing, the entire station will fall under full influence. And then, something worse may follow." Callan rubbed his face again. "Fine. What's the plan?" Ryla turned away from the window. "We go to the maintenance sectors." Into the lower decks, the maintenance levels beneath Vorax's hub were nothing like the shining upper floors. Instead of bright lights and polished walls, the lower platforms were dim, dusty, and loud with machinery. Pipes ran across the ceiling like metal vines. Thick cables hummed under the floor. The smell of oil and heated circuits filled the air. Callan felt more comfortable here. Machines were predictable. They didn't lie or manipulate emotions. Ryla led him down a narrow hallway marked authorized personnel only. "Are we allowed here?" Callan asked nervously. "No," Ryla said. "But that is why we must enter." Callan groaned. "I really hate this." They reached a locked maintenance door. Ryla touched the panel, and it glowed purple beneath her fingers. The lock clicked open instantly. Callan blinked. "How did you do that?" "Biometric override," Ryla said. "My species can interface with certain electronic systems." "That would have been useful to know earlier," Callan muttered. The door slid open with a loud hiss. Inside, the room was filled with cables, humming generators, and strange angular devices Callan didn't recognize. The air vibrated softly, almost like the feeling of standing near a massive speaker. Callan stepped inside and winced. My head. Ryla nodded. You feel it too? Yeah. Like pressure. The emotional influence field is strong here, she said. This room is close to one of the emitters. Callan walked around slowly. So, this is where the signal is coming from? Not exactly, Ryla said. It is a relay station. The true source must be deeper. Callan pointed at a glowing control panel. Can we shut this thing down? Ryla studied the controls for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. If we disrupt it, alarms will activate. The system is protected. Callan frowned. So what do? We search for the main emitter. Before Callan could respond, he heard footsteps, heavy, echoing, getting closer. Ryla's eyes widened. Hide. Callan dove behind a large cluster of cables. Ryla crouched beside him. The maintenance door slid open, and two tall aliens entered. They wore dark uniforms, with glowing silver-lined station security officers. One of them tapped the generator. Field strength increased by 20%. Good. The other nodded. Management wants maximum compliance in Sector 12. Too many complaints. First officer laughed. Not after today. Callan felt a shiver run down his spine. These officers were not just doing maintenance. They were knowingly increasing the emotion field. They were part of the conspiracy. Ryla stayed perfectly still. Callan barely breathed. The officers made some adjustments and left the room. The moment the door closed, Ryla grabbed Callan's wrist. Now we know, she whispered. This is not an accident. This is controlled. Callan swallowed hard. You were right, Ryla nodded. And we must find the main emitter before they expand the field to the entire station. A map of Trouble Hyla led Callan to a quieter hallway. She pressed her hand against a small access panel, and a hologram map flickered into the air. It showed the entire station, multiple levels. Long corridors, circular platforms, docking rings, and transportation tunnels. Ryla traced her finger across the map. The relay stations form a network. They all connect. Here she pointed to a massive circular room near the core of the station. The central control sphere, she said. Normally used only for high-level operations? No visitors allowed. Callan stared at it. So that's where the main emitter is. Most likely. Callan raised an eyebrow. And how exactly do we get into the most secure part of the station? Ryla looked at him calmly. With difficulty. Callan stared at her. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Ryla tilted her head innocently. I do not experience enjoyment in the human sense, but I find this situation stimulating. Callan groaned. Great, you're having fun. I'm having a panic attack. A message from nowhere as they walked toward an elevator shaft. Callan's wristband suddenly buzzed. He checked the screen. A strange message flashed. Stop investigating. Leave the lower sectors. This is your only warning. Callan froze. Ryla, someone just sent me a message. Ryla leaned in. Her eyes narrowed. Encrypted. No sender ID, someone is watching us. Callan felt his stomach twist. We should leave. No, Ryla said firmly. They want us to leave. That means we are close. Callan let out a breath. I regret ever paying 2 credits for anything. Ryla smiled softly. I am glad you did. Callan blinked. Why? Because you are not controlled, Ryla said. And because I trust you. Callan didn't know what to say to that. Danger ahead, they reached a maintenance elevator. Ryla hacked the controls easily. The lift began to descend down into the restricted core levels. The air grew colder, the lights dimmer. The station felt heavier. Callan looked at Ryla nervously. What if we get caught? Ryla looked straight ahead. Then we run. Or we improvise. Humans are good at that. Callan gave a weak smile. Improvising is basically our national sport. The elevator stopped with a loud clang. The doors opened into a long, dark corridor filled with silent machines. At the end of the corridor, a faint purple light pulsed rhythmically like a heartbeat. Ryla whispered, that light. It matches the frequency of the emotion field. Callan swallowed. So that's the main emitter? Perhaps, Ryla said. But something feels wrong. What do you mean? Ryla's eyes narrowed. We are not alone. A shadow moved at the end of the hallway, then another. Then footsteps echoed slow, heavy approaching. Callan felt his chest tighten. Who is that? Ryla stepped in front of him protectively. I think, she whispered, we are about to find out. The corridor felt colder as Callan and Ryla stood completely still, listening to the slow, heavy footsteps echoing from the purple-lit end of the hallway. The machines around them hummed like sleeping beasts, and the dim lights flickered as if warning them to turn back. Callan's heart pounded, so loudly he was sure whoever or whatever was coming could hear it. Ryla didn't move. She stood as calm as a statue, her eyes locked onto the shadows. Then the figure stepped out. It was the metal-skinned alien from before. The same officer who had tried to grab Callan near the market. His shimmering body reflected the purple glow, making him look like a moving piece of living armor. And he wasn't alone. 2 more officers stepped out behind him, each wearing the same dark uniform with glowing silver lines. Their faces showed no emotion at all, just cold, blank focus. Human, the leader said, voice low and sharp. You ignored the warning. Callan swallowed hard. Yeah. We're not great at following creepy anonymous messages. Ryla stepped forward. You are controlling the emotional field. Why? The leader tilted his head. For stability. Control is not stability, she said firmly. For the station it is. The alien took another step forward. You two are interfering. You must be contained before you cause damage. Callan raised his hands slowly. Okay, let's talk about this. I'm sure we can. 2 officers lunged. Ryla moved instantly. She grabbed Callan's arm and pulled him backward with surprising strength. One officer's hand slammed into the wall where Callan had been standing a second earlier, denting the metal. Callan yelped. Are you kidding me? These guys hit like trucks. Run. Ryla shouted. They sprinted down the corridor. The security officers chased them with long, steady strides. No hesitation, no fear. Just programmed determination. Callan and Ryla reached a junction where 3 tunnels split in different directions. Ryla turned sharply left, dragging Callan with her. They are using tracking signals, she said quickly. They can sense energy signatures. We must confuse them. Callan gasped for breath. How exactly do we do that? Ryla didn't answer with words. Instead, she slammed her hand against a nearby maintenance panel. Sparks flew. The lights flickered violently. What did you do? Callan yelled. Overloaded the local sensors, Ryla said. Their trackers will fail for a few seconds. Incredible, Callan muttered. Terrifying, but incredible. They dashed through another door. Ryla locked it from the inside and motioned for Callan to stay quiet. Footsteps thundered past the corridor outside, then faded. Callan leaned against the wall, panting. Okay, that was almost the worst moment of my life. Almost. Meeting my ex-girlfriend's family was worse, Callan muttered. Ryla blinked. Humans have strange priorities. Callan sighed. Yeah, we really do. Inside the deep Cortha room they entered was huge, filled with thick pipes, glowing tubes, and massive cylindrical machines that pulsed with purple light. It felt like the heart of the station, beating coldly and steadily. Ryla walked deeper inside, eyes scanning every surface. The energy here is strong. The emitter is close. Callan followed, still catching his breath. Ryla, what if we can't shut it down? What if it's too big? Too dangerous? Ryla looked back at him. Then we do what humans always do. What's that? Find another way. Callan gave a weak smile. You make it sound like we're clever. You are, Ryla said simply. Unpredictable. Creative. Difficult to control. Callan looked at the machines again. Something about the scene bothered him. The pipes weren't just carrying energy, they were carrying something else, something like a signal. The machines hummed in a rhythm that felt too organized. Then he noticed a set of small vents along the ceiling. Ryla, I think the signal might be traveling through the ventilation system, too. Ryla followed his gaze. Yes, the field is being distributed through multiple channels. That is dangerous. Why? It means the emitter is not just influencing emotions. It is synchronizing them. Callan felt a chill. Synchronizing? Like making everyone think the same? Yes, Ryla said softly. If it reaches full power, everyone on the station will have similar emotional reactions. No anger. No fear. No resistance. Callan frowned. That sounds like mind control, emotion control, Ryla corrected. But the result is similar. Callan shook his head. Who would want that? Ryla walked toward a glowing console. Someone who fears chaos. Someone who believes free emotions cause conflict. Callan stood beside her. Humans argue all the time. It doesn't mean we're dangerous. Ryla looked at him with soft eyes. Your emotions are unpredictable, but also powerful. That is why the field does not work well on your species? Callan scratched his head. So what do we do now? We find the control node, Ryla said, and shut it down. She pointed toward a large circular door at the far side of the chamber. That is the entrance. Callan stared at it. Of course, it's the biggest, scariest door here. The control node, they approached the giant door. Ryla touched the panel beside it, and the door slid open with a slow, echoing rumble. Inside was a round room filled with dozens of floating screens. In the center stood a tall tower made of shifting metal layers. At the top of the tower glowed a large purple orb that Ryla whispered is the main emitter. Callan's jaw dropped. Looks like a giant mood lamp. It is far more dangerous, Ryla said. The orb amplifies emotional frequencies. If we disable it, a voice cut through the air. You will not. Callan and Ryla spun around. The leader of the officers stood in the doorway. Behind him were 6 more officers. They blocked every exit. The leader stepped forward, his metallic face expressionless. Humans always cause trouble. But this time, we will not allow it. Ryla moved protectively in front of Callan. You cannot do this. You are destroying free will. Free will is chaos, the leader said. Conflict. War. Our station must be peaceful. Callan took a step forward. Peace isn't real if you force people to feel it. The leader glared. Humans misunderstand. You cannot see the bigger plan. Callan shook his head. No, you don't see the problem. You're taking away choice. The leader raised his hand. The officers moved. Ryla whispered Callan. When I say run, run. Callan's heart dropped. But trust me, the officers charged. Ryla grabbed Callan and threw him to the right straight behind a large console. Callan slid across the floor, hitting his shoulder painfully. Ryla fought the officers with inhuman speed. She dodged blows, twisted arms, and avoided energy restraints. But there were too many of them. Callan peeked over the console, panic rising in his chest. Ryla. Callan. Ryla shouted. Go to the emitter. Disable the top layer. What? How? Human improvisation, she yelled. Use it. Callan stared at the emitter tower. Human improvisation. Right. He scrambled to the base of the tower. It was covered in shifting panels, glowing circuits, and symbols he couldn't read. But Callan was an engineer. He didn't need to understand the language, he just needed to understand the machine. He spotted 3 stabilizer rods connected to the orb. That looks important. He muttered. He grabbed a loose metal bar from the floor. Can't believe I'm doing this. He slammed the bar into the first stabilizer rod. The rod bent. Sparks flew. The orb flickered. The officers froze, shocked. Ryla used the opening to kick one square in the chest. Callan swung again at the second. Rod, more sparks. The orb grew unstable. Stop that. The leader shouted. Slen lifted the bar. Come stop me then. He smashed the final stabilizer. The orb exploded with a burst of purple light. A shockwave rippled through the room. The officers staggered, clutching their heads. Ryla collapsed to one knee. Callan was thrown backward into a wall. The purple glow. Faded silence filled the chamber. The emotional field was gone. Aftermath Callan groaned, slowly pushing himself up. That was a terrible idea. Rila stood shakily, but quickly regained balance. She rushed to Callan's side. "You are injured." "I'm fine," Callan said, even though everything hurt. The officers were lying on the floor, dazed and confused. Without the field, their minds were no longer under the same influence. Rila helped Callan stand. "You did it. The emitter is offline." Callan winced. "Yeah. Humanity. 1. Creepy mind control lamp. 0. Rila smiled softly. "That is why I trusted you." Callan blinked. "Why?" "Because humans do impossible things." Callan gave a tired grin. "We don't do impossible things. We do stupid things that somehow work." "Exactly," Rila said. Callan leaned against her slightly. "So, what now?" Rila looked toward the elevator leading back to the upper levels. "Now," she said, "we face the consequences." Callan groaned. "I really hate consequences." Rila helped him walk. "We will face them together." Callan walked slowly beside Rila as they moved through the quiet upper hallway of Astronine Station. The alarms had stopped. The purple glow had faded. The emotional field was gone, but tension still filled the air. "Do you think they'll arrest us?" Callan whispered. Rila shook her head gently. "I do not know. Station leaders will want answers and explanations. Many explanations." Callan sighed. "I'm terrible at explanations." Rila looked at him. "You are better than you think." Callan gave a tired smile. They stepped into the central atrium, a large round hall with transparent walls showing the stars outside. Dozens of citizens aliens of many shapes and colors stood talking in confusion, rubbing their heads, or looking at each other as if waking from a strange dream. The emotional field had affected all of them. Now they were free from it. Some looked relieved, others looked angry, few looked lost. As soon as Callan and Rila appeared, eyes turned toward them. A group of council officers marched forward. These were not the metal-skinned officers who attacked earlier. These ones wore blue and gold uniforms and looked calm but serious. The tallest among them, an alien with soft green skin and silver eyes, stepped forward. His voice was deep but gentle. "You too! Come with us!" Callan lifted his hands. "We're not resisting. Please don't throw me out an airlock or into a recycling unit." "Or Callan," Rila whispered. "Stop." "Right. Sorry." The council room, they were taken into a large circular chamber with long curved seats arranged like a ring. The council members sat high above, watching with cautious eyes. Rila stood tall. Callan tried to stand tall too, but his legs were still sore. The silver-eyed leader leaned forward. "We have been informed that you two entered the lower core, and that you disabled the emotional field emitter." Callan swallowed. "Yes, that was us. And you damaged critical station equipment." "Also yes, and you caused temporary system instability." Callan winced. "Technically, yes." A long silence followed. Rila stepped forward. "Before you decide anything, listen." The council focused on her. The emotional field was not a safety measure. It was a tool of control. It limited free will. It forced emotional balance on every citizen. "That is dangerous." One council member rose slightly. "The field prevented conflict. It kept the peace." Rila shook her head. "Peace without choice is not peace. It is quiet fear." Murmurs filled the room. Callan pointed at himself. "Look, I'm human. We fight, we argue, we yell, but we also help each other. We create new things. We change. Sometimes we break stuff, like your giant purple lamp, but it's because we think something wrong is happening." A few council members exchanged glances. Callan stepped forward bravely. "If you take away emotions, you take away the things that make us alive. You take away connection. You take away growth." Another silence. The silver-eyed leader finally spoke. "Rila, you were trained to control emotions, were you not?" Rila nodded. "Yes. On my planet, emotional control is respected. but it is taught, not forced. We learn choice and discipline. We do not lose who we are. And you chose to help the human. The leader asked. Ryla looked at Callan. Yes. Why? Ryla's eyes softened. Because he is unpredictable and courageous. Because he asks questions no one else asks. Because he cares more than he admits. And because he is proof that chaos is not the enemy. Callan's heart thudded. He looked away shyly. The council chamber went quiet again. Then the leader finally nodded. Very well, we understand. Callan blinked. Wait, you do? Yes, the leader said. And we thank you. You what? The leader stood. Your actions prevented a system that was becoming too powerful and too controlling. The emotional field was meant to stabilize behavior, but in recent years its strength was increased beyond safe limits. Today's events revealed this danger. Callan stared. So, we're not in trouble? You're still in trouble, the leader said. Callan sighed loudly. I knew it. But, the leader added, your intentions were good, and the outcome may save us from future harm. That must be considered. Callan looked at Ryla. She gave him a small, reassuring nod. A new path later. After long discussions, the council gave their decision. Ryla and Callan sat together on a bench in a quiet garden area within the station. So we're not being punished? Callan asked. Not punished, Ryla said. But assigned. Assigned. Callan frowned. To do what? Clean floors? Repair vending machines? Explain emotions to confused aliens? Ryla smiled. We are now part of a new task force. Callan's jaw dropped. U.S. task force? For what? To help prevent misuse of emotional technology. To help rebuild safe systems. To teach the value of emotional freedom. Callan blinked. Right. So, we're like counselors? Ryla tilted her head, in a way. Callan groaned. Oh no, I'm not good at giving life advice. Last time someone asked me how to deal with stress, I told them to eat noodles and scream into a pillow. Ryla laughed a soft, warm sound that made Callan freeze. He had never heard her laugh like that before. You will learn, she said. Callan rubbed his neck. Do I have a choice? Yes, Ryla said gently. You always have a choice. Callan looked around the garden. The station felt calmer, now real calm, not forced calm. Aliens walked by, speaking in normal tones, showing real emotions on their faces. Some smiled, some argued lightly, some looked thoughtful. Everything felt alive again. Callan exhaled. Okay, if you're doing it, I'll do it too. Ryla nodded warmly. Then we do it together. Decision. They sat there. Ryla's gaze slowly drifted to the transparent wall where the stars shone like endless white sparks. Callan, she said softly, when you came here, you rented me. Callan choked on air. Why us? Why us? Sorry about that. Ryla placed a gentle hand on his arm. I am not angry. I chose to stay. I chose to help you. And now, I choose something else. Callan looked at her curiously. What do you choose? Ryla's eyes glimmered. I want to stay with you longer. Callan felt his ears turn hot. You do? Yes, Ryla said. Not as someone rented, not as someone assigned, but as someone who chooses to be close to you. Callan's stomach flipped. Why? I mean, I'm just a guy who fixes things and breaks things and panics a lot. Exactly, Ryla said. You are human, and humans are. Interesting. Callan scratched his cheek. You know, you're pretty interesting too. Ryla smiled softly. Then we help each other. He nodded. Yeah, together. A new beginning. The council gave them small apartments near each other. They were free to explore the station, talk to citizens, help communities recover, and advise engineers about emotional safety. Some days Callan repaired machines that broke after the shockwave from the emitter. Some days Ryla taught small groups how to manage emotions safely without losing identity. Some days they attended council discussions, and some days they just talked. About Earth, about Ryla's homeworld, about strange foods, about friendship, about dreams. Each day their bond grew stronger, and the station slowly healed. HFY moment one evening. The council leader called Callan and Ryla to the central hall. A crowd had gathered. The leader spoke loudly. Today, Astronine honors two individuals. One who showed courage in the face of control, and another who chose freedom over obedience. Callan tried to hide behind Ryla. She gently pulled him forward. The leader continued, They remind us that peace without choice is not peace, and that sometimes chaos saves us. The crowd applauded. Ryla stood tall. Callan stood awkwardly, blushing. The leader looked at Callan. Humanity often surprises us. Today, it saved us. Callan whispered to Ryla. Wow, humanity, heck yeah. Ryla smiled. Yes, humanity, heck yeah. Closing later, as they walked through a quiet corridor, Callan looked at the stars again. Ryla, he said softly, thanks for choosing to stay. Callan, she replied, thank you for giving me something to stay for. They walked side by side, closer than before, not because a machine told them to, not because a field pushed them to, but because they chose to. Together,